Campfire, where the place that has hosted us. We have different panelists here who are eager to share with us what they have against each other. The debate is very strong, and all the panelists that we have here are very knowledgeable of what to say. So if you're watching us online, we thank you so much for taking your time to be part of this public debate. We know that the ideas and views that are going to be shared here will be helpful to you as an individual and, of course, as a political party. Tonight, there are 6 panelists, or what you may say, debaters. And they're willing to give us what they have. But let me start with the members who are here in the studio. We thank you so much, our audience. You've taken your time and you've come to experience or share new ideas. This is a historical moment, the first debate ever from the diaspora community to discuss on the issues affecting Uganda. Could be good, could be bad. It will depend on all these panelists we do have here. Now, the theme of the debate, to you who are in the audience and those who are watching us online, is change in leadership a solution to Uganda's challenges? Is change in leadership a solution to Uganda's challenges? Now, you who are watching us online, you are going to have an opportunity for your questions to be responded to by these debaters. To the members who are in the audience, you also have an opportunity to ask your questions directly to these people, and they will be in position to answer them. Now, there are going to be a couple of rules that are going to govern this debate. I will start with the panelists. We had a discussion together, and you know some of the rules that govern you while you're giving your presentations. And I think we'll stand by that. To the audience, we want to thank you so much again. You'll have a 1-minute time to ask your question. And these people will be in position to respond to your question in just 45 seconds. You have an opportunity to directly pose that question to an individual, or you can send it to a group. It is opposition versus position. For this case, the NRM government that is leading Uganda today. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask my panelists, but before I ask them to give us any word, I'd like to just go through their names in the line in which they're seated. We have Mr. Rwangapol. He's from the NRM party. He believes in it, and he's always strong to support it. We have Mr. Dennis Eliao. He's an FDC affiliate. He believes in his political party, and he's always willing to defend it, life or not. We have Jenny Buria. She's also an FDC affiliate, but a People Power supporter. Jenny, we thank you for joining us too. We have Mr. Dr. Daniel Kauma. He's a People Power supporter. We have Ismail Sunjoji, People Power supporter. And we have Sarah Joy Bakanasa, People Power supporter. So guys, I want to thank you so much for coming. Please, audience, let's receive them. Now, I'm going to give each of you 4 minutes to introduce yourself and give your opening remarks. I will start with my brother from the far left, Mr. Apollo from the NRM. Thank you.
I want to thank you, moderator, for this opportunity, and the Campfire for the hosting us for this useful topic of talking about our country. I like the theme of the transition. And I would say, and I would believe that transition in Uganda, or the change, is needed. I can say everyone in Uganda needs a change. People are yearning for the change. And they have been waiting for the change for a long time, I think. before I go further over that, I'm a political analyst and I'm a Pan-Africanist. I have a lot of things which I agree and I disagree with in my government concerning the political atmosphere in the country. It's always, everyone always has a bad side and a good side in life. So even when you look at the past regimes and the regimes that are right here, the regime which is on, they have a bad side and a good side. So I can agree with all the political entities about the change. But sometimes there's always a question, what change? So when you talk about change, or when we talk about change in Uganda, as I said, people need change. That is the cry of the people of Uganda. They need change. They need to see how other people can perform in terms of development, in terms of security, in terms of education, in terms of health sectors, and in many things. I know and I can admit, if anybody comes from NRM and say everything is wow, that means maybe he needs to see a doctor. There are a lot of things that is not going on concerning the political atmosphere in our country, concerning the health sector, the education sector. Recently, I in my own village where I came from, the government primary school, they had a long time, I think it's like something like 1 year. They had a very, there was a rain that came and took off the roofs from the school. And it's amazing that that school took over like 7 months when children are studying in the classes whereby no roof. When we have the education minister, by the way, I think she was even the wife of the president. And the education people who are even paid by Ugandans to do their work. So a lot of things has been happening and is happening. So some of us, we've been so patient and we are like, maybe the service delivery will progress. But according to Ugandans, to the same people of NRM I'm talking to, they're saying maybe enough is enough. I think we should have a change. So change is not satanic. Change is good. Even in humanity. Even the body of someone changes. When you're growing, your body changes. So if someone came and said, Abeo, no pakalasti,
all right, so
that means,
catch your time short.
Yeah, so we need change in Uganda.
Thank you so much. Straight away, I'll go to my brother, Dennis Edial.
Good evening, viewers. Good morning, depending on your time and where you're located. My name, once again, is Dennis Alfred Eliao. The traditional name is Eliao that I love using everywhere I go. I'm so privileged to be here, and I'm so happy that the panelists look very organized and very arranged in discussing the issues regarding Uganda. I'm also at the same time so impressed that my neighbor, the NRM, seemed to be one that understands what our country is going through. As an FDC politician and activist, we are so always proud of people who think about their country, and what they have to do for their country to make the children of that country grow and live in a better life. The theme for today is changing leadership from our country. How will it help us? Will it be changed for the good or for the bad? What are the procedures we're going to undergo in the process of making this happen? All this, I believe, is supposed to be discussed and will be discussed here. Of course, I know there are lots of challenges going back home. You talked about education, in the health sector, security, agriculture. Yes, we are a young, growing nation, and we cannot bypass some challenges. But how do we handle those challenges? It's going to be discussed here. All the answers will be given right. To my colleagues, I am happy that the struggle is going on. The people power people have joined us in the struggle. The FDC has been fighting for this since time immemorial. It's now almost 20 years and plus, and we are still making sure that we hit the last nail to the NRM that have failed to leave the chair for a long time. Yes, it's not that we have to remove them from that chair, but we need to do something tangible to make sure that this country gets back to its roots. We shall discuss more going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Jenny?
Hi guys, good evening to people in Boston, good morning to people in Uganda and everywhere. My name is Jenny Budia. I'm an agriculturalist by profession. I'm a Choto presenter and moderator. As I was listening to my colleague from NRM, I realized that he's people power, but he hasn't yet realized it. Because actually people power is not a party. Your ideologies are needed in people power, because that is the way we think. And I want to remind you that we don't need change, but we want change in Uganda. And I would like to tell the FDC person that yes, we were waiting patiently for 20 years to see change in Uganda, but it has failed. When something fails, you actually, as an agriculturalist, when I plant something in a different way and it fails, I look for any other way in the other season. This is the time and the season for people power. You may agree to disagree, but this is our time. And I will urge you, if you want change, because if you want change, if you need change, you can stay in FDC, because for 20 years you've been needing change. But if you want change, this is the right group to join. Because we've been in power, because we are now the opposition in Uganda for only a few years, not even 20 years, not a half of 20. But you see the effect. You're seeing the Chablani effect. So we've seen the change right now Chablani is bringing, not even for 20 years, not even 5, but the change is there. You're seeing the effect. So I'm urging you guys, you have the ideology we need in people power, and people power is not a political party. Because personally, I'm a registered FDC member. Why am I a registered FDC member? Because our government in Uganda is a multi-party system. That's why I'm a registered member of FDC. But I have an ideology of people power. That's why I joined. So guys, we need you to this side. We need to take Museveni out. The NRM person says things are wrong in Uganda. They are not wrong, they are badly off. People are dying. So if you feel like this, actually NRM is no longer a party, but it's personalized. NRM is Museveni. See, if you say that you're in NRM, you're not in a party, but you're behind Museveni. And to remind you very well, Museveni is making our things worse than what it was in '86. Those are my
All right, thank you so much. Now, before I go to Mr. Daniel and the rest of the guys, please, I would like to remind you that we are live on 3 major media houses here. We are on AITV, we are live on Diaspora TV, we are live on Campfire TV. Now, I may not have told you this, but we are 2 hosts in this debate. Myself, David Rubura, I work for Campfire TV, and Aisha Namiro, who is in the audience right now, but she will be here joining us, and of course she'll be taking questions from the audience and also asking some questions to these panelists. She's there and ready to take it up. So guys, I want to come back to you, Daniel.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel Kauma. and I live in the state of Maryland, and I'd like to thank everyone for the warm welcome we have received. Today's topic is a fundamental topic in a way that it digs into the mindset of our people in Uganda. When we talk about leadership and the impact of leaders, the impact leaders can have on our people, this is a topic that has been debated for centuries. In fact, there's a lot of people who like to do research and philosophy. There are people who have debated that can leaders actually impact society. This is a debate which has been ongoing. You can look at the big man theory. You can look at people who have argued that leaders are born. And you have other sides who have argued that society shapes leaders. So the debate we are having today highlights two sections of a political atmosphere in Uganda. When you look at the impact of leaders in the world, there are two sets of countries. You have democracies and you have autocracies. And for the case of Uganda, we're a semi-autocracy. Leaders in a democracy are less likely to have a major impact because you have institutions that restrain their power. Leaders in autocracies are likely to have an impact, the same way we have in Uganda, because you don't have any institutions. Parliament is dead. The judiciary is dead. So you have one man who is making every single decision for the country. So for Ugandans, it's important that we wake up and realize that we need to come and show up and vote and choose our leaders, because leaders have a major impact on the well-being of our country. If you look at the previous elections we have had in 2016 and 2011, let's look at 2016. 15 million registered voters. Only 60% showed up to the polls. The other 40%, what happened to them? Because they feel their vote doesn't count. They feel their voice doesn't count. So when we come here to debate the impact leadership can have on a community, it's imperative that Ugandans realize that your voice counts, your ideas count, and I'm glad we're here on this debate stage to show that even ideas can count in a political system. Today I was narrowly going to talk about the issues of healthcare, because that's my profession. I'm on the front lines every day on the decisions patients have to make between their doctors and their insurance companies and their livelihoods. In Uganda, our people face the same problem every day, the same challenges. Families sit on the kitchen tables to decide if they have enough money, if they have $1 million shillings, or even 500,000 to afford the treatment at the hospitals or to afford the surgery. These are the challenges our people face today. And as a provider, I look at this in three ways. One, do Ugandans have access to health care? And two, if they have access to health care, can they afford it? And if they can afford it, are they getting the positive outcomes of the care that they desire? Now, when I assess the achievements of NRM the last 34 years, they have really failed in the sector of health care. And I hope we can hear from other panelists about education, about the informal sector, about security. But from the aspect of healthcare, if you look at every single metrics, it shows that the NRM government policies have failed to deliver for the Ugandan people. Healthcare in Uganda is not a right, it's a privilege. And I hope as we go down the road, I'll be able to go through some of the solutions I believe can impact the lives of our people, and will move Uganda forward.
Thank you, Dr. Daniel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ismail?
Thank you very much, Dr. Daniel. My name is Ismail Serunjoji. I work for the state of Massachusetts under the city of Cambridge as a mathematics teacher. This, I think, has been long overdue. There's a saying that a person who does the same thing in the same way, expecting different results, is a fool. I think Ugandans have been taken to be fools for 34 years. And I think this discussion is long overdue. My presence on this debate, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for having invited me. And I hope to share my thinking as regards to the education sector, which I have quite some experience in. But I'd like to say that the education sector right now is in a dire situation. There's a dire need for a change. Because in 2015, there was a change from the Millennium Development Goals to the Sustainable Development Goals. And one of the goals that was assigned by the 190 countries, one of the top 4 is education. And with the belief that with education, when you educate somebody, you'll be able to kick out poverty, have them live prosperous lives, and improve livelihoods. But right now, with the situation in Uganda, I don't think that, unless if something happens, we hope that our guys in NRM can really help us and tell us what they are doing. But whatever is going on right now, it's like preaching to a choir. The choir knows what the Bible is. I believe that nobody in Uganda, even like the NRM friend of mine, Mr. Apollo, he knows. So it's just a preaching to a choir. We need to just remind the people out there that when we get to 2021, everybody needs to go out there and participate and actively participate. We are more interested in to be able to kick the NRM and Museveni out. We don't want supporters, but we want to have voters. So we want the voters there to go out and do the voting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ismail. Sarah?
Good evening to everyone, people watching us from the East Coast, West Coast, and Ugandans who are following us online, wherever you are. In some places it's night, some places it's day. And to our audience members, good evening. It's so interesting. I'm just, sometimes I want to talk about things the way they are happening. As today morning, I think all of us woke up to the disaster happening right now in Uganda. And I think some of us have been shocked. The first thing, when I saw a taxi immersed in water where people were fighting to get their lives out, I saw dead bodies. The first thing I did was I called someone in Kampala and I said, for how many days has it been raining? I was told it started raining at about 5 in the morning, and it took about maybe 3 hours, but it was a serious downpour. The issue is people are going to say, oh, you can't blame the government for the rain. Definitely we can't blame Museveni for the rain because it does not cause the rain to happen. But we are blaming Museveni 100% for not being able to contain the disasters when they happen. This is not the first time we are having issues with Bududa. Bududa's happened not once, not twice. We saw right now mudslides happening in Bundibujo. It's not the first time. But is the government capable to manage? Or how does it, when disasters happen, how are they prepared for them? So for that, we are going to blame the government 100% for not being prepared. Why are we having Kampala City, the center, the heart of Uganda, the capital city of Uganda, flooding? It is shocking. You could just think that Lake Victoria just broke through, or something happened, and Lake Victoria is around Kampala. So it is completely absurd that we have people who are sitting in the higher office who have failed completely to plan for the city. And the questions I've been asking myself, for all the 33 years of President Museveni and people who are going through school, and President Museveni having been to, early last week he was graduating students of Chambogo University, of which if I look at Chambogo University, it's one of the universities that is known for bringing out people who are practical students who are good. You mean we don't have any engineers, or we do not have people who have done urban planning? At least, even if you don't want to pay the professionals, I believe there are so many students either who are still doing engineering, who would be very interested in coming up with a prototype. Let's say, for example, they can go through the city and know exactly where is the problem. Because the problem of Kampala is the drainage system. It is so absurd that in the 21st century, we still have Uganda flooding. As much as it's a natural disaster. Look at Bududa. Have we managed to control that even for the years it has been happening? No. Every time it happens, we come up with excuses, or people are living on the mountains. We've not come up with a policy or a way to, to allocate them to other places and take them. And we've not educated them, because if you don't educate people why they don't have to stay, if you don't sensitize them and give them the proper education why they don't have to stay on the mountains, they will keep going back, because that's the only way they know. You need to find a better way. So why, as we are debating today and asking and demanding for change, this has stopped being who belongs to which party. Right. It concerns every Ugandan to know that it's about time. The leaders we have right now, They've completely so detached to what is happening in the world or what is happening in Uganda right now. They're feeding their own stomachs. They're caring about their own children. So it's about time we do something and get the new leaders who will work for us.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Now I'll come back to the audience. We are now officially starting the debate. We've heard from all these individuals what they think. Just their opening remarks can show you how the debate is going to be. Now, the debate is divided into 2 or 3 segments. We are going to first start with health and education. Then the second segment will go to security and informal sector. And finally, we'll look at agriculture, which is commonly known as the backbone of Uganda. So it will depend on these panelists to prove to us, the people who are in the audience and those who are watching us online, whether agriculture is still the backbone of Uganda. Now, I would like to pose the first question to the panelists here. Uganda is now ranked amongst the countries that have the highest number of youth, and 83% of those are unemployed. 83% of those are unemployed, despite the fact that the government claims the education sector has improved through provision of universal primary education and USE. Now, to Mr. Aporo, a member of NRM, do you feel the government's initiatives of improving education through USE and UPE can liberate Uganda, or will it stay in power because of that?
I think the problem is not USE or whatever the government is trying to put, because we have a lot of, right now, I think when NRM came into power, there was, if I remember very well, there were 2 universities. Right now we have lots of universities, but the question is, when you have lots of universities that every year brings students out, what are you prepared for those students, and what are they going to do? Because the problem is not people not studying, as you mentioned it. People have studied, a lot of young men have studied, but they have nothing to do. That's where we can really focus. As I told you at the beginning, that the government, my government, has not done enough. I mentioned it that we have a bad side and a good side. A good side, we have put a lot of universities, but the people that comes out of the university, they have nowhere to work. That's a bad side. So the problem is, when Sarah was talking about something like, can't we have engineers that can plan our own people? That was good. We have them. But we have a problem that needs all the Ugandans to be in to change. I disagree with my sister here of FDC stroke People Power, that whoever supports NRM supports Museveni. No. Museveni will go, NRM will stay. Because it's a party that registered. They did not register Museveni, they registered the NRM party. So, some of us, we are not following Museveni. That's why we say that we need a change in a leadership, or who. When I say change, I'm not talking about, I don't put any name, because any Ugandan who is capable can lead Uganda into a better place. So, when I go to education still, there are some questions which I don't know even how to answer them, because they even perturb me and make me give me sleepless nights.
You have 30 seconds.
I'll use them. So we tried a lot as we can to push the government to try as they can to provide the jobs to those people that are coming from the universities to get something to do. But you find out that these investors that comes with their companies and they come with their people. So I've never seen a country whereby you have your own citizen in a company and they are 2%, and you have the people that came with the company have 80%. That is not growth. So we try. I can say some of the things we fail. We have a good side and a bad side. Thank you.
All right, thank you
I
so
have a
much.
short
Daniel?
I have a short response to his answer. I think his answer shows us why we need change. Because NRM has clearly run out of ideas. Point number one, the fact that the president wakes up one morning and thinks his wife can run the Department of Education, yet we have better qualified Ugandans who can raise the level of education in Uganda. That shows me that NRM has run out of ideas. That's point number two. Point number three, just educating for the sake of educating is not going to help our country. We need to educate Ugandans to be ready for hands-on jobs, where they can employ themselves, they can create jobs for themselves. Ugandans should stop being job seekers. We need an education system which trains Ugandans to provide jobs and be innovative rather than line up every morning and wait for jobs. And that's why we have a queue of people who are trying to go to the Middle East and even other areas of the diaspora, because we have become a factory for the rest of the world. We are not recognizing the needs of our country and educating accordingly. So to respond to my friend from the NRM, if you have run out of ideas, I think first of all, go within your party and get the right leaders within your party. Because you keep electing the same leader over and over again and you expect different answers. So for better ideas, we need leaders who are going to pick the most qualified people to lead our ministries. Just choosing your wife for this, I don't know if it was a Valentine's Day present, but you can't just elect your wife to run our Department of Education. We see what happened at Makerere. She could not even respond to the needs of universities at Makerere, of the students at Makerere. She's quoting the Bible. The Bible is not going to save us. We have to save ourselves. So I would like to tell my friends from the NRM that the time has come either to fix your party or we're going to help you fix it in 2021.
All right, thank you so much. So,
Can I say something?
Thank you so much. I'll give Ismail a chance, then I'll come back to you last, Mr. Apple, after going through all of these guys. Mr. Ismail.
Thank you very much, David. It's very unfortunate that the person, like Dr. Kauma said, the person who is the head of the Ministry of Education, apart from she got degrees in a very fraudulent way, but as an individual did not manage to take all her kids through school. And maybe there's something in the grapevine that the degree that Museveni claims he got from Dar es Salaam University may not also exist. But putting that aside, my friend Apollo, I think it's high time that we get policies that can help the education sector. Just in the previous budget that was set, the education sector got 3.9 trillion shillings. It was one of the highest, it got 10% of the budget. It's one of the highest allocated. Why? Because Janet Museveni is there. And for the NRM, all these things are just deals. And if you read the budget framework for the education sector, they say the biggest chunk of the money is going to be spent on paying wages and salaries. Now, the highest problem we have in Uganda, like those who are around long time ago, like you said, you were around during Amini's regime. I wasn't. But one of the biggest things that we have is ghost individuals. There was a time in 1997, I think somebody in the army thought the army had over 20,000.
You have 10 seconds.
Thank you very much. But right now, the major problem that is facing the education sector is budget allocation and policy.
All right,
So,
thank
and like you said, they have really run out of ideas.
All right, thank you. So I'll give Jenny, and then I'll come to Daniel.
I want to say something to you. Like he has said, our education system is encouraging job seekers than creators. And when you talk about job seeking and creation, when we do the creation, it's agriculture. Because for us, we are a practical course, you know? But what has the government done to agriculture? Museveni, your president, actually, I'm calling him the NRM because you people for 35 years, you've decided to bring Museveni as your candidate. Yes, yes. I don't know whether he's the only person who can think for you as NRM people, but to me, he couldn't rule me even for 3 years. Why am I saying this? Because Museveni brought in the NADS. I was in Makerere the year they brought in the NADS. They came to Kamanyoro to study with us for only 4 months. To do something we are studying for 4 years. And the NADS are, the army is in NADS. There you're actually making us disabled as people who are doing agriculture in the university. Because the soldiers cannot do nothing. Secondly, Museveni is introducing all these programs. For example, the UPE. He introduced that because he wanted people to vote him into power. He's not introducing it in a good will, or even after researching about it. He's introducing it and telling people, if you vote me into power, the previous year, UPE is going to start. That is how UPE started. That is how USA started in 2007. So the intention Museveni is introducing these programs is the bad thing. That's why he said, if you're running out of policies, please allow us to go in that office because we are qualified. You know, Museveni is leading everywhere. Museveni has started to be Niginas, actually. I introducing the Nigina.
Jenny, thank you so much.
He's out of ideas.
All right, so I would give Daniel, Dennis a chance to first finish up, then I'll come back to Apple and then we'll close that question.
Thank you so much. East Africa in general is trying to have education system that favors the parents, like the UPE, the USA, which is not a bad idea in terms of education priorities. Other countries in East Africa are doing well. For example, Kenya, they also have UPE and USE. But what kind of education are we giving to our children? Like the quality of education is mattering a lot in our country. You find that under UPE, yes, there is good enrollment in terms of proportion, but thereafter, when they are done with P7, so many of them will drop out. Then after dropping out, how many are going into USE? Only those ones who have performed a little bit better will join the USE because the quality is wanting. The teachers are all the time drinking, and because the government that does not really look up to them, they don't care. They go to class and they can no longer teach. So that is number one. Number two, in certain sense, when we talk in terms of USE, there are challenges. One is because when you educate me and you are only fixing me to look for a job later on, not training me to do something using my hand, like technical skills, technical education, I don't call that really quality education because you're derailing our brain. In Uganda right now, everyone is looking for an office, a swinging chair. Who is going to construct the house? Who is going to work on the chairs? Who is going to put the carpet down on the floor? So that is the challenge we have. Even if someone is employed and they have the money, it's hard for them to find someone to come and fix their bed because we are not training our children through skills. Those are some of the challenges I look through.
All right, thank you so much. So before I come to you, Apple, let me
make a simple submission. He was, the panelists, most of them have been talking about UPE and USCE. When you look at before UPE, I'm glad I didn't go through the system of UPE. But when you look at UPE and the rest, and prior to that, I think the quality of students we used to have coming through the program where parents used to pay money was much higher and better. Look at all the schools the government spoiled. Museveni, definitely when UPE came up, they were not prepared for it. It was one of the campaign promises and all of a sudden it ran away from it. Not planned, they didn't know how to execute it, so it was just something he throws out there. And this is, and I'm glad that Ugandans are beginning to wake up because before UPE, how did our parents manage to keep us in school? You mean there were no degrees? You mean we didn't have people going to school and graduating and finishing school before UPE? What has Museveni done? All the 33 years, Museveni has been enabling Ugandans, making them become lazy and thinking, oh, he can do everything for them. One, he destroyed the agricultural sector. Our parents used to get money from coffee. I remember when I was going, there's coffee, they used to do all kinds of things to keep their children in school. And it was all good. So destroy the agricultural sector and then tell them I can help you pay school fees for your children by introducing UPE. And then spoiled it. Right now, you have students coming out. Pupils coming out of UPE, they can barely read and write. And it is free of education. And it's hard even to continue with education to further levels. So what has the government has done right now? It has caused more harm than good, that you can, as much as you have UPE, it is more or less useless. And maybe where we have to go back to is why did they introduce UPE?
Sorry,
and what has it done for Ugandans? If it has destroyed Ugandans, how do we make the system better?
Thank you
But
so
I'm
much.
glad Ugandans are waking up.
Thank you so much. Now, Mr. Apro, all questions have been coming your side. Could you please respond?
Yeah, I'll respond to everyone. First and foremost, I want to clarify this. I'm an NRM, but I always learn a lot from democratic countries. I've never, whoever don't believe in President Trump, in these people here in America, call him Trump. Either they call him Mr. Trump or President Trump. I don't agree with Kyagulanyi in some of the stuff. We disagree over something. Some of the things we agree, but I have never called him Kyagulanyi. So if you're talking about the president of Uganda, try to respect. I have been, my friend of FDC here, Kano Besigye refused to call President Museveni president, but he always said Mr. Museveni. That's not the issue. That is a very respective capacity. However, you don't agree with anybody in anything, at least
would
a
you
respect.
try to respond to some of the questions?
I'm coming. That one is done. So, I think I didn't want to talk so much about personalities. Janet Museveni was a minister of this and this and that. The problem is not who is a minister. The problem is what do you do when you are a minister. That's the problem. The problem of Uganda, you see it in another angle. And this is what I always tell Ugandans. If we are to change Uganda, we should stop attacking personalities and we look at Uganda as Uganda was before Museveni came and is still there.
All right. Thank you so much. So before we go off from that question, first of all, my sister Aisha will step in.
Thank you so much. My name is Aisha Namiro, and I work for Radio Uganda Boston. So I'm glad to see you all.
Great.
Okay. I want to ask you a question. It's just a follow-up. You say you don't want to attack personalities when we're talking about the problems of Uganda. Today, like an hour ago, President Museveni had a cabinet reshuffle and held on his wife, Janet Museveni, as the education minister. And we've been having a lot of troubles with the education system in Uganda. So how are we going to address this when your president or your party chairman still thinks that Janet Kataha Museveni has the skill set to hold such an office?
That is the problem I told you about. The problem is not Museveni, the wife of the president. The problem is who is in that seat, what that person must do. Look at this. Uganda, for your information, when you look at the surrounding countries, like Tanzania, do you know how many Tanzanian people are coming to study in Uganda? Do you know how many Rwandese are in Uganda studying? Do you know how many Kenyans are in Uganda studying? Do you know how many Congolese?
Excuse me, did you get my question?
Yes.
My question is, you said the problem is who is in office.
Exactly.
And we are talking about the cabinet reshuffle. And Janet
I didn't know
Museveni-
about the reshuffle
Janet
right now.
Museveni has been kept as the Minister of Education.
Again?
Again.
Yes, after the scandal of
And
Makerere.
we've been having a lot of scandals here and there about all this, the education system. So what is your party doing if you can't recommend or advise the chairman to have another person in the office to deal with the situation? So I know about the education of Uganda, other countries appreciating our system, but it's like Libya. Libya had a lot of admirers outside, but actually when they had an internal problem with their president, and that you see where the country is. So I'm not looking at what the outsiders are talking about or appreciating our education system. I'm asking you about keeping the status quo when we're having a lot of trouble with the sector.
I understand, and I answered that question. Then if the president then put back the wife, that is horrible. Because that's what I told you, that the problem is not who is in that place. The problem, whoever is in that place, what did he do? Because all 35 to 33 years, the wife of the president was not the one who was in the place of the Minister of Education. So what did others do?
All
So
right.
I think
Thank
the
you so
president
much.
must look into that.
Thank you so
My
much.
president.
So your time, guys, for that question, our time for that question is done. But I think we still have a lot to talk about, so we'll bring it probably later. But let me ask you about the health sector. The healthcare in Uganda, as well as many other low-income countries, fails to meet the basic needs of the population. The lack of essential medications, supplies, and nurses are more obvious cause of inadequate healthcare delivery. Less visible, but perhaps more fundamental, is the problem of leadership. And that's what we're talking about today. The medical officer on staff at the regional hospital who does not show up for work, and the effects this has on support staff. Leadership failures, including poor supervision. Now, this question goes to Dr. Kauma. You who are in opposition, what do you plan to do to address this problem?
Thank you so much for your question. The first point I'll make is, if you want to know how effective the healthcare system of a country is, just ask yourself, do the leaders in that country use that healthcare system?
Exactly.
And for the case of Uganda, our leaders fly outside when they get sick. Ugandans pay 500 billion shillings every year for VIPs to go and get healthcare somewhere else. So they don't trust their own healthcare system. They are the custodians of the healthcare system. That's one reason why we need change, because we have a dinosaur cabinet. I want to go back. Average age 70 years old. For a youthful population, average 15. We cannot be governed by dinosaur cabinets. They keep reshuffling the same people over and over again. Now, moving on to solutions. Actually, I'll also point out one thing. The top killers in Uganda today are still communicable diseases like malaria, HIV, diarrhea diseases, respiratory infections. But we're also seeing an uptick in non-communicable diseases like cancer, like cardiovascular diseases, like high blood pressure and cholesterol. Our healthcare system is not prepared to deal with those conditions because those require long-term treatment. If you have malaria, they'll give you anti-malaria medication and you'll heal in 7 days. If you have hypertension, if you have heart disease, these are diseases which are lifetime diseases. Our healthcare system hasn't been able to adjust yet to the growing issue of non-communicable diseases, which are killing right now 40% of Ugandans. So what are we going to do? We're going to look at the promises the NRM has made. In the 2016 election, the NRM government said they're going to guarantee quality health care for all Ugandans by 2018. Promises made, promises not kept. They said they're going to offer a national health insurance for all Ugandans by 2018. Promises made, promises not kept. They said that they're going to build infrastructure for our healthcare system. Right now we have 155 hospitals serving a population of 40 million Ugandans. We have 2 ICU beds for 1 million Ugandans. 12 ICU hospitals, 10 of them are all in Kampala. If you got an accident today in Masaka or Arua, God help you if you survive. So NRM has been making all these promises for years and they haven't delivered. So what are the solutions? One, we need a national health insurance. Because right now, insurance penetration in Uganda is at 1%. People cannot afford the cost of health care. Yeah. 2 years ago, I was in Uganda, and you walk outside Mulago, and families are sitting there on the phone, calling relatives who has 50,000, who has 500,000, because that's the choice between life and death in Uganda. The bulk of healthcare system is funded through out-of-pocket. So we need a government that is ready to commit on healthcare expenditure.
You have to
The agreed-on percentage is 15% in the Abuja Declaration. Right now, Uganda is spending at least 7% of our budget on healthcare. That's not the right amount. And I'll add on a few more points. So we have talked about a health insurance policy. We need more providers. We need to train more doctors. Right now, we have one doctor to 24,000 Ugandans, one nurse to 11,000 Ugandans, one dentist to 77,000 Ugandans. You cannot sustain a healthcare system and get positive outcomes with such discrepancies in our healthcare system. Right. So we need a government that's ready to commit to training more Ugandans, offering a health insurance system that works for all Ugandans, build the infrastructure, cut down on corruption, and get rid of the dinosaur cabinet. Thank you so much.
All right.
Dr. Kauma, thank you for your submission. I want to ask you, you've talked about health insurance and a way of improving our health system. How is the government going to sustain this? Given the fact that actually we collect little tax in Uganda, although it's an NRM problem now, but let's say people power takes, is in the chair now, they take on government. How are you going to sustain that? Or we just, we're having just a, wish thinking, something like that?
That's a very good question. First of all, it's an issue of priorities. If tear gas could heal diseases in Uganda, we'd be disease-free.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because the government is choosing to invest in tear gas, we are choosing to invest in areas that kill Ugandans rather than areas that heal Ugandans. So we need a government that prioritizes the people, invests in the people. We do have the money, we do have the resources. Yes, there are some challenges, but Little Rwanda has a national health insurance policy. 94% of Rwandese are insured. Okay. Japan has been doing it for years. This is what you do. First of all, you are going to subsidize health insurance because the government is going to end up paying for these people anyway. Mulago has a line of people who are sick, but if we had offered preventive care by investing and saving money in an insurance policy, the government will be saving money on the back end. So you create a public policy where people can opt in, subsidize it, have insurance companies buy into that policy, and you're going to insure a bulk of your population. I talked about the issue of non-communicable diseases like hypertension, high cholesterol, people getting heart attacks and strokes.
5 seconds.
Those are diseases that require preventive care. Yeah. So insurance is going to allow Ugandans to access preventive care, and the government is going to be able to save money on the back end. So you invest early, and you save money later. I feel that's how we're going to fund the health insurance policy.
So I'm only going to give, from the opposition side, from the NRM, Mr. Apple, your response to Dr. Kaumas. How are you going to sustain your NRM in power if the health sector is doing bad like that?
I think whatever he said, some of it are right, but some of them are not right. I can tell you, he mentioned about the insurance, about the health sector. The health sector in Uganda, when he talked about Arua, when you get an accident in Arua or whatever it is, we have hospitals in Arua. We have an hospital in Arua.
Are they equipped?
So the problem, I stay in what I said. The problem is of our government. I think I'm very open. Maybe you will not understand me. I said I will not say what is not there, what is there. the hospitals are there. We can't say they're not there. But the question is, what is in the hospital? That's what I told you.
You have cockroaches in the hospitals.
Yes. That is the problem. If President Museveni has built the hospitals, so, and you build a hospital of billions and billions, and tomorrow you hear that the National Drug Authority, National Medical Stores is banning medicine for 12 billions. And in the hospitals, there are no medicine. So, I mean, some of us, you help us. What do you want us to do? I think that is a stupidity for a high level.
Then stop.
All right, so guys, I want to thank
That's
you.
what. Excuse me. That's what I said. I said at the beginning. I said at the beginning that change is inevitable.
So we want to go in a short break of 1 minute. But before we go in a short break, to the members in the audience, you will have a chance to ask your questions. And those online, we are only taking questions from the 3 media houses: AITV, Diaspora TV, and Campfire TV. So if you can send your questions through those platforms, we'll be in position to receive them. And guys, I guess let's have just a 1 minute break and then we'll be back. The media houses are going to stay live. So thank you so much.
Wadengembela eka yosobola kusaba togwa musubi yosobola manya mukama wali yosobola usobola embera yonna wadenga entisa nyingi yosobola nga mukama wali yosobola kale no togwa mumanyi yosobola usobola mu mbera yonna gula wamaso tunule kubawo zibiriza ziyegenda zonga za kwanga munje okumanya kokwe kuyamba abalala Katonda yugira balemerako bibamalako enjogereyo yaffe kubadda wadengembera eka yosobola kusaba togwa musubi yosobola manya mukama wali yosobola usobola embera yonna wadenga entisa nyingi yosobola nga mukama wali yosobola kale no togwa mumanyi yosobola usobola mu mbera yonna. Tebakufisa, tebakunyomanga nawe ebintu biyinza bali mu buyinza tebakukanganga wadenga bajjana bitala bajjana lyanyi betuze na mukama katonda kubane Dawudi eyakuba Goliathi yakwata bukwansi jjinja ffe twabamuge tukulumba nalonga twesize mukama katonda kubanga ne Dawudi yanyiga Goliathi nga yesize mukama katonda wadenga embera eka yosobola kusaba togwa musubi yosobola manya mukama wali yosobola usobola embera yonna wadenga entisa nyingi yosobola nga mukama wali yosobola kale no togwa mumanyi yosobola usobola mu mbera yonna. Remember, everything is possible if only you believe you can achieve.
All right, sorry. We thank you so much for those who have been waiting on us from the online community, and those in the audience who are so now excited about the discussion. But we welcome you back again. We are going into the next segment of security and informal sector, but we wanted to first finish up with the question of the host. So I'm only giving you 30 seconds each, and then Aisha will be taking us in the next segment. All right, so I'll start with Jenny.
Yeah, I think my problem with the NRM people is one thing. They are seeing the blame, but they don't want to put the blame on the government. And listen, if there are the hospitals, the health center 3 and 4, they're there. Whose role is it to see that the medication, the doctors are working actually, the supervision is provided? It's the problem. Everything in Uganda starts from Museveni, you know? When he said that we need a lot of things to be changed, I remember that we have a lot of healthy donations for HIV and AIDS. Donations are coming in Uganda. But what is the problem? The problem is that those donations are not directed to the right cause, because people are embezzling those funds, and Museveni knows that. So if Mr. says that the problem is not Museveni, it's so absurd. I feel so sad that he is living actually a double life. That is double standards. Because the problem is Museveni. Museveni is the one appointing these ministers. He's literally the one running all the ministries in Uganda. Because they answer to him. So what is the problem? When the family has a problem, we go to the head of the family. He has to put things in order, but he cannot, because he's out of touch with reality.
Thank you, Jenny. All right, so Dennis, you are from FDC.
Yes.
Dennis, you're from FDC. So what's your opinion?
My opinion is one. A country that wants to fight corruption or medical corruption always bases on the judiciary system. If the judiciary system cannot apprehend these people that we arrest daily, because on TV every day and every now, people are being arrested for stealing drugs, because we have a lot of drugs in Uganda. That's why some of them are, are burnt away or destroyed because of lack of supply. Once they are supplied, they are stolen. These guys are apprehended, they are taken into justice. Tomorrow they are out on bail, and they will never go back. The Gavi funds, the Mukulas, and the rest.
So what do you plan to do just in case?
The thing is, one, retire the president of this country, and everything will go as to plan. We have good system, we have good constitution. If we only follow it with the right ruler, with the right leader, forget about the ruler word, the right leader, things will be in place, and the thing of health challenges will be history.
All right, thank you so much. Sarah, your final take?
I'm just like many people have been mentioning here, and you just imagine us having a country with doctors that are mandated to save lives and are poorly paid. The last time doctors mentioned about proper pay, President Museveni said he's going to get doctors from Cuba, as if those were not going to be paid. So we need doctors to be properly given a proper salary for them to do their work. And you see, when you look at, for example, Mulago Hospital was one of the hospitals where people used to run to and get medical services. But Mulago Hospital right now, if you go there, if you want to see a doctor or registration, 50,000 to many Ugandans can afford it. And when we encompass and talk about the health sector, look at when a Ugandan gets an accident, where I'm even shocked in this area, people are still put under a police patrol truck. You've already got an accident, and this patrol truck, you can easily get tetanus, you do not know what is there. So basically, they're making your life, they're putting your life in more danger. So a lot needs to be done. But just like he said, he asked a funny question, and I'm like, why is he even asking it? When he said, why are we banning drugs? Yes, we are banning drugs because they're expired. You bring in substandard drugs, that's why you're banning them. You're banning drugs, instead of you putting drugs where it's supposed to be, people hiding the drugs in stores so that they can sell them. You're banning drugs because you don't care about Ugandans. Because if you're banning 12 million US dollars, and if you're having the likes of Mukula, the likes of Mukute, the other guy Muhwezi, being reshuffled or given other positions after stealing all that money, yes, these things are going to happen. And the biggest question I've been asking myself, does Mukula or Muhwezi have any family member who is HIV positive? I hope not, because if they had, they would make sure they safeguard the lives of the members of their families by making sure the drugs are in hospitals.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. My question goes to all of you, but I'll start with Sarah. Sarah, Uganda is known to be a country which has an economy but has a contribution larger coming from the informal sector. The informal sector, I'm talking about people who are running businesses in Uganda, but they don't remit taxes. So we are blaming NRM for not doing so much. But the NRM, I remember years ago during some election, they scrapped the graduated tax. And we've seen or we've read stories where people bring in merchandise or do business minus paying taxes. People who are in big positions or who know people in government. So if people power is in power, how are you working with this informal sector? They work, they get money for themselves, but they don't remit nothing to the government, yet they're the biggest percentage and they need services.
When you talk of informal sector, what exactly are you talking about? Because when you talk of informal sector, you're going to say, oh, people who are operating shops, because you have it divided in Ugandans who are operating shops, who are operating, let me answer you, who are operating shops, who are running small businesses. But the biggest percentage of Ugandans not paying taxes are Ugandans who are operating a business of 10,000 shillings. What taxes do you want them to pay on the 10,000 shillings? The biggest percentage of Ugandans not paying taxes are people who are doing business 10,000, 20,000, and they are dealing either, basically maybe most of the time they are looking for something to put in their stomach. That's the biggest percentage of Ugandans that are not paying taxes. But what would a government have done is to put their proper systems. Or you have the other bit of Ugandans that would be able to pay taxes. But the systems in which one collects these taxes are not well properly stipulated. You have someone from KCCA imposing taxes. You have URA imposing taxes. You have someone from all these, different sectors, organizations imposing taxes on someone operating just one store. So which tax is someone supposed to pay? Which is a proper tax? If URA is going to levy taxes, what is the taxes coming from KCCA? What are the taxes coming from their property tax? You have KCCA levying taxes on that same one person. You have URA levying taxes on this one same person. And then these taxes are not properly put in place because the taxes with URA, every time they're changing. Ugandans, as much as they would want to pay taxes, you do not know when the tax money is coming. And with which tax you do not know. Because Ugandans, again, they've not been given a chance to be educated. Or they've not taken time to educate Ugandans on why they have to pay taxes, which taxes they're supposed to pay, and where they're supposed to be taxed. Because people are double taxed in so many instances. You bring in something, for example, the businessmen who bring in something in Uganda, you've seen so many occasions where people are overtaxed or double taxed on one commodity they are bringing in, and at the end of the day, they are left with nothing to go back and do business, or they are left with businesses falling down all the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. I think there is a saying. Thank you, Madam Aisha. Sorry about that. There's a saying in Luganda that most times amuses me. We say "echechintu chabwe." I'm very pro taxes because taxes are supposed to help the people. But going back to the question of the informal sector, before the Museveni regime started its business, we had cooperatives. The different cooperatives in the different areas, like in Jinja, there was a cooperative about, there was a ginnery. Every district, every region had a different cooperative where farmers could do whatever they are doing and they would gain out of that. And all these were closed after these guys came into power. Now, the people who are doing the informal sector, like she said, those who are doing cooperatives, those who are, the woman who is selling on the street, they need to be supported. And the taxes that are levied cannot be the same tax that is levied to a person who is doing a business that is higher than the other. Now, most of the time, the reason why I started with that saying is because as a people, whenever something does not serve my needs, I tend to discharge myself from it. So maybe once the government, when Mr. Kyagulanyi comes into power, we should be able to revive the cooperatives, and can we prioritize the informal sector because it's one of the highest paying and most disadvantaged group of people that are not prioritized. Even in the budget, they are not actually covered for. The disabled have a people representing them in parliament. The people of the informal sector who are employing higher than the government itself don't have a representation, but they have things like casita, they have other small things that are going on for them. So I'm hoping, like Dr. Kam was saying, it's more about the prioritizing and knowing what to prioritize. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be brief. This is the copy of the 10-point program. Now, a lot of Ugandans were not born, because the average age of Ugandans is 15 now. Those who were not born by 86, when Museveni and his team came out of the bush, they presented this agenda. This was the agenda they presented to the Ugandan people, that it was their commitment, their roadmap for committing that massacre between 81 to 85. That this is what they wanted to change for Ugandans. Number 7 of the 10-point program is elimination of corruption. That's number 7. 1 week ago, what happened? Museveni brought his cabinet out of the woods, and they walked again about corruption to remind themselves that 34 years ago, they made a commitment to Ugandan people that they were going to eliminate corruption. So when we talk about poor people not paying taxes, let's start by asking Museveni and his cabinet to release their tax returns.
Exactly.
So we know if they're actually paying taxes and what they own. Because at this point, we don't know what they own. Money comes into Uganda, we don't know where it goes. Donor money, tax revenue. So the problem is not the poor people not paying taxes. In fact, if People Power wins the next election, they should keep money in the pockets of the poor people.
Yeah.
Because we want those poor people to have a fighting chance to succeed in this economy. Because these people are winning, the people have been losing for the last 34 years. We want the average Ugandans to start winning. Keep the money in their pocket, let the cabinet release their tax returns, and we see what they have stolen for the last 34 years. Because we are tired of pledges being made and broken.
All right.
10 pledges made and broken. Not only in the 10-point program, term limits, age limits, and 2 weeks ago they made another pledge to fight corruption. So my answer to that question is keep the money in the pockets of poor Ugandans. They pay mobile money tax. You log into Facebook and WhatsApp every day, you pay another tax. You sniff, you probably pay another tax. So the time has come for us to keep money in the pockets of the Ugandan people and let these gentlemen who came out of the bush 34 years ago to show us their tax returns. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Bulia.
Actually, I think in any economy, we have the poor, the middle class, and the rich. Taxation is not a problem, but the fairness in taxation. You cannot tell me that you're making me like a person who has an entrepreneur, because many people in Uganda are entrepreneurs. They have small-scale businesses. You're making me pay taxes on behalf of the rich because we see the investors getting tax holidays. Indians come in and for 5 years they have the tax holidays. Uganda is so funny, as he has said, that when we see corruption, we say that a walk to corruption will end corruption. That is how funny we are doing in Uganda. So the problem is not taxation, it's the fairness. If I'm being taxed and the rich is given a tax holiday, that is not fair. And another thing, are Ugandans seeing where the taxes are going? The allocation of these taxes. We pay a lot of taxes. OTT is there. We have mobile money tax, but the roads are poor. The healthy centers, they are the worst stage. The education system is dying out. We are proud to be from Makerere. Right now, I don't want to identify myself to Makerere. You know? Things are going upside down. And when you're telling me that taxation is a problem, no, the problem is Museveni. And it will be Museveni for 35 years, for 34 years. It has been Museveni and his people. What do we need in Uganda? They need to get out.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Aisha, for that question. The informal sector is playing a lot in this country because our budget 2019-2020 financial year was 40.1 trillion, something like that. Uganda revenue collects about 20 trillion, even if they have set their target so high. They end up failing to meet the target. Yearly, they have never met their target. The challenge is generally because the people that are supposed to pay tax that can later benefit the country are the ones that are evading the taxes. I happen to have worked in Malaba, and I saw the syndicate these guys play. They can import a 40-foot container. Inside there are refrigerators, new or used, whatever it is. Then they declare that they have paper plates inside that 40-foot container. So they will charge the paper plates. They will tax the paper plates, not the refrigerators that came in. At the end of the day, how much is URA collecting? Leave alone that. The URA are aware that inside there are refrigerators, but they are playing in people's mind, in the country's mind, through corruption so that all of them benefit. So at the end of the day, we are going to get more money from abroad, from the US, from the EU, to finance our economy. And at the end of the day, our grandchildren will pay more and more. So the simplest thing to think is, I go back to the judiciary. If the president is really working hard to end this corruption, leave alone the working that he demonstrated, let him make the judiciary to be independent so that these people are brought into book. After they are brought into books, they are charged, their properties recovered or sold off, so that we bring that money back into the economy.
Thank you.
That's what I look forward to.
Thank you. Mr. NRM.
Oh my God. So I saw the work, but I think corruption is anybody's fight. There is something I want from, I noted from People Power. There is something I love, which is saying, "Webereremu." I love that thing. Some of the problem is some of People Power, with some of the people in People Power, they take that thing as something small, but that word is very serious. I don't want you to take it as we used to sing a song like read your Bible and pray every day, when people, we are not even praying, even read the Bible, but we used to sing it in the Sunday school. But some of you, People Power, are even understand that word webereremu as better than some of you who even saying it, because it's a good word. So corruption is anybody's fight, not even those people who are in the government. Because when you look at the public service, how many are people in public service? Uganda has, they don't even say 40 million. We are 50 million, because the last time they counted were how many? Even right now we are still 40? No. So it's a fight. In democracy, we say whoever receives money from maybe a police officer and whoever gives or whoever receives, both are corrupt. So you cannot blame that only on government. It is webereremu. Fight corruption. Because if they get you and you don't have your driving license is expired, and you say, okay, police officer, this is 20,000. What are you doing? Why don't you allow and they take you to the police or they take you to court? I've seen many Ugandans do such things. Officer. And some of them even they prepare that money when they know that they are going to meet the police officers. They have even the way they indicate to themselves, the police officers are head there, and they prepare money. What is that? Is that Museveni who is doing it? Is that the minister who is doing it? It is you. So corruption is anybody's fight. Is kwebereramu. Ngabo government Ugandans 2021 kwebereremu. Why do you say that? Because you yourself, you cannot do it alone, unless when you have all Ugandans.
So what is your point on the informal sector and tax collection now?
Tax collection, Ugandans, by the way, ever since I grew up to this time, I don't know even how they pay taxes in Uganda. I just knew it here in America, whereby when you buy something, they say taxes here. I'm telling you the fact, because you people, you don't want the fact. How many of you have been in Uganda who can say, I was paying tax like this, like this, like this?
Payers, you have
Thank you, but me, I didn't know.
There is VAT.
Yes.
Good.
18%
Good.
on everything you buy.
Okay, but do you know that in Uganda, 80% of the foreigners, they don't pay taxes?
That we know.
Whose fault is that?
That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Could I say something, please?
Can Sarah, because the informal sector question to Sarah.
Let me respond to you, Apollo, a little bit. You talked about if you didn't know you're paying taxes. There is an indirect tax called VAT, that is VAT, where you pay 18, value-added tax, where you pay 18%. In fact, that value-added tax, every Ugandan, whether you're poor, whether you're a kid, whether you keep, I'm very sure you send mobile money to Uganda, you pay the VAT. So every Ugandan pays the value-added tax on everything you buy. That tax is compulsory. But again, you must understand when you're going to look at the taxes as a whole, when you say foreigners don't pay taxes, you cannot blame that on individual Ugandans. It's entirely the government responsible for that, because this is what has been happening, and government has kept a blind eye on this issue, and they know it. You give a tax holiday to Indians or whoever you're giving a tax holiday, they come into Uganda. The moment the tax holiday is done 10 years, they pack up and leave and go to another country. So basically, what have they got in the country? You give, for example, you give the Chinese, they come in with the sweepers, they come in with the tea girl, they come in with everyone. They've not left any penny in Uganda. People who are doing casual work were all Chinese. They come in, tax holiday 10 years, they pack up and leave. And government knows about this. This is not rocket science. They know it has been happening. But because there are deals and commissions, people keep allowing them to come in.
Thank you so much.
Talk about even America. The money they receive from the embassies, where do they pay taxes?
Thank you, Mr. Apollo.
Can you take money from America to Uganda before taxes?
You pay taxes for that.
Where?
We'll have that conversation later. Thank you so much.
I'm saying the money Americans take from the people on the visas.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know how much money they get a year? It pays our two budgets.
Thank you so much. In 30 seconds, please, and then we go to the next question.
I would like.
Can you get it from here and take
I'm
our
coming to
government
the audience,
Uganda?
please. Thank you.
I want to say something. Mr.
30 seconds, please.
I didn't get your name. But the thing is that there is the high end of corruption and the low end of corruption. He is talking about the low end of corruption. I would say that corruption is not going to get out of Uganda when President Bobi Wine is voted into power immediately. But there is a process, because our people in Uganda have a sickness called corruption. The system is already corrupt. When the system is corrupt, you're corrupt immediately. You don't have any reason not to be corrupt, because I know when a policeman gets me, I have to give him 20,000 Uganda. It's a disease. I'm telling you, it's a disease. But what do we need? We need to go back to the rule of law. What is the implication of you doing that? In America here, when they stop me, I cannot give the policeman any money because I know the implications. Museveni knows that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Let me finish, please.
Your 30 seconds are done, Ms. Bulia. Thank you so much. People in the audience, I think after this question, it will be your turn to ask questions. And people online, you can go to the TV,
either Campfire,
Campfire
AI TV,
and Diaspora Television. Then you can put your question there. We'll deal with it. And now we're going to security. After security, it will be time for the audience to also chip in. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, just as a reminder, for this question, you're only given 45 seconds to answer the question, and all of you are going to be given an opportunity. So the question is the question is very simple. It takes us back to the theme that we are discussing on today about leadership, whether change in leadership is a solution to Uganda's challenges. Today, as we speak, just a couple of hours ago, the cabinet has been changed. It appears to be the same ministers who are there have been reinstated. As the NRM, do you think this can help you stay in power when things do not change? Your question.
Because of the reshuffle? That's what you mean?
Yeah. When you look at the security of Uganda, some people have been reinstated, and they have had issues before the security system of Uganda has been down for the past couple of months or even years. For the last 30 years plus you've been in power. Do you think bringing back the same leaders in the same positions with the same issues that are affecting Ugandans can help you sustain leadership in the next coming years?
I don't think that changing, maybe doing reshuffle is about staying in power. That is two different things. Because when you talk about security, I think when you go in the security sector, when you talk about maybe the UPDF and that is a partisan army. Though someone maybe people have their opinion of saying that is army for Museveni, whatever it is. But I think that is Ugandan People's Defense Forces. So if anybody comes maybe in a ministry, like maybe the Minister of Defense, like he's just a public service. He's just serving the Ugandans in that position. It is unfair to say that I'm the security, I'm the Uganda. No, you're not Uganda. According to the security in our country, our security in our country is the better in all Africa. Is the better in all Africa. I can defend that. United States of America and its allies in Europe chose Uganda. They even published and told their people not to go in Africa for tourism because there was terrorism all over Africa. At first they had chosen Nigeria to go to Somalia and its allies all over that West Africa. When the Boko Haram captured these young students, then the Nigerian government said we cannot send our troops in Somalia when we have the internal problem with the Boko Haram. So they chose Uganda to lead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm only going to give one part, the member from FDC and one person from the People Power to respond to the same question. Now, to the FDC, do you think there is a possibility for security of Uganda to improve, just in case you are given the opportunity to lead the country?
Yes, let me first talk on behalf of the existing government first. I want to let you know that the security has totally collapsed. There is a lot of killing, there's a lot of torture, there is a lot of land grabbing that stems out of insecurity from the country. So, as you saw yesterday when General Tumwine was trying to attack Angina. Angina comes from, I think, in Sorot, around the Tesoland. So this thing is for the few individuals that are in the government. So if you handle security with your relatives and friends and in-laws, then I tell you the country has totally gone onto the side. Coming back to FDC when we take over power, this I assure you the people's government has worked on all these policies. They are already on paper. We are implementing them already under the people's government. Though we are still challenged by this government that exists, we are not allowed to hold some of our campaigns. We would have demonstrated these things practically. But of course, security is a big thing and it cannot just cure in one day. It's a process. Once we take over this power, we are going to make sure that the leaders that take over these big shots, big positions in the security are well-tamed, they are mannered, they are pro-people, and they love their country.
All right,
not
thank
just
you so much,
bring someone
Mr.
on board
Dennis.
because he's your sister.
I'll give Jenny to represent the People Power, then we'll go to the audience and the online community. Jenny,
So what I'm saying, to his point, if Uganda has the best security, but it's on the expense of Ugandans, because we saw the bomb of blast in 2010, it was because Museveni refused to remove his army from Somalia. So why are we being the best in security when Ugandans are suffering? I want to remind you.
We even saw it here in America.
Excuse me. In America, it happens that we find the people who have done it. You know? In America, we have security. I'm secure right now because I know someone is.
Jenny,
let me finish up. If Museveni has the best security and Ugandans are suffering on the expense of him providing the security to Somalia and him not providing the security to Ugandans, Museveni serves Ugandans, not Somalis. We have to be secure as women in Uganda. In 2017, a lot of women died. No one has come out to explain who killed them. Like repeatedly, a lot of people are dying, gunned down in Uganda. And you're saying Uganda is secure?
Thank
Seriously?
you so much.
All right, thank you, Jenny.
I want to throw in something. I don't want you to take me off the security thing. From Apollo, from the way you're handling security, you look to think. It seems you think Uganda has terrorists. The last time we had Kony, that was Museveni operating northern Uganda. Because up to this point in time, so many Ugandans were massacred in northern Uganda.
We have not recovered yet.
And we've not recovered any. We don't know where Connie is. We don't know who is Connie. So I do not know. When you talk about insecurity, you try to think, I think you're thinking we are operating in a war zone.
Thank you, Sarah.
Let me add on a little bit.
Thank
The
you.
problem
Yeah,
of
40
security,
seconds.
the problem of security we are looking at right now, our Ugandans, my mom just a month ago, she was robbed. They get into the house by 6 p.m. I am talking of people, Ugandans being robbed by people, boys and girls they know who have turned into thieves because they are jobless. I am talking of Ugandans who are murdered. I'm talking of women who are raped day and night on the streets of Kampala, or the Entebbe situation. We are talking about that kind of insecurity.
Come back to that
because it is
we'll,
killing normal Ugandans.
I'll give you more time later.
Right now in Nakasongola, we had 3 people beheaded. We want to know who is killing them.
Yeah, we're turning to the audience and then we'll be coming back.
So I'm going to go to the audience, and my sister Aisha is going to stay here to choose who to give. Let me have a microphone from my brother NRM too.
When they give the microphone, please, 40 seconds. You only have to say your name, maybe your party inclination, that's your choice. But people who want to call in can call this number, 781-5213-569. And then you can send in your questions. Please, you say your name, maybe where you come from, and maybe your party inclination. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. So
We go with Kabuye Boston because he was one of the people who came in first. No, can you stand up, please, and hold the microphone?
we're giving you only 40 seconds.
Yes. My brother of NRM, this question goes to him. He says security, all African countries refuse the U.S. to go to Somalia, Congo, whatever, right? That Uganda accepted because we have security. I want to ask him, what benefits as Ugandans we get when we go to those countries?
All right, thank you.
Yes,
so much.
Thank you
I want
so
to ask
much.
him that, and let him tell us how much money they give one soldier to go there.
All right.
I know the fact he knows.
Thank you. You
Thank you so
can
much,
either
Tom.
use Luganda or English. It's okay.
I hope,
Whatever
you
language
guys
you're
are
comfortable
noting
in.
down these questions, so yeah, the audience is going to ask first, then you'll be responding to them. All right, thank you.
Okay. Can we get Mr. Wandukwa too, please?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alex Wandukwa. I'm a native of Mbale. I'm a Mugisu from Mbale. I just want to mention a few things. One, I start with the executive. I've been advised to come forward.
Let me cut you short a little bit. We are only taking 2 more questions and we'll be all set because we are running out of time. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we had
Can you please come
we had a discussion about the Minister of Education, who happens to be Mrs. Museveni. Now, we talked about the appointing authority. Who is the president? But before going forward, let me talk about a situation whereby Nasantege Sebagala's name was submitted for approval in the parliament. And because Museveni wanted that man not to be approved, he instructed his stooges in the parliament to reject him. So in the same way, he's forwarded Janet Museveni's name, and she was approved by the parliament. So parliament has a blame into this. Museveni went ahead and inserted affirmative action into parliament. So parliament is overstaffed. We have overrepresentation. So what we need to do, we must make sure that whoever we choose to represent people in the different constituencies is somebody who understands. Number 2, we have parliament. Yeah, parliament. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Last question, Madam Aisha, who's taking the next.
Can I get Frida at the back?
All right.
Frida
Can you
at the
please
back,
come
please.
forward? Thank you.
Nze kangende mu Luganda oluzungu lungi. I just feel sorry for the young man, Bambi. Kwegamba Uganda wetuuse. I feel so sorry. Kwegamba baka bugende eri aba NRM. Bwenti. aba NRM nze njagala kubagamba ekigambo kimu it is time up. Eddagala eri expired lwakubanga Uganda tulimira expired, NRM yali expired. My grandfather, I want to address you, was one of the diehards of NRM. Before he died, he said national resistance movement was not resisting. Ebintu byali resisting before. So I just want you to know that I feel so sorry for you. Nebigambe mbyoyogede, you were not well informed. Uganda before independence, all the nationalists came to Makerere University. So it is like nothing. Not so many people can even come ngabali abantu abamanyi aba involving a change. Nze nkusaba nawe webereremu ozukukola bamazima ywe good man nkulabye unlike oli omulala watero kututawanya labe ebintu obitegere. This is the time this is the time for people to wake up like you. Era ndabaamu nga bino biwedde.
Thank you so much. All right.
One last question. Can you go to?
Yeah, someone there.
Yeah, someone there. We said 5. Yeah, that's the last one. You come in the second.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I just want to make clarity on something. My brother Venarim said Uganda yesinga security. Ekyo kituufu. Yeah. Ekyo kituufu. Just waliwo kimu kye mwetaaga okumanya.
What is your name and where you you didn't say your name.
I'm Tony Nsubuga. Nva Uganda nange Butambala. Uganda yesinga security mu Africa. Obuzibu obuliwo. No, kangambe mu Africa. Obuzibu obuliwo. Ti security yonna Uganda gyeyina ya muntu omu. Which accounts for the ever increasing massacres mu Uganda. Security teyamba bana Uganda.
Exactly.
Security yamba Mwami Museveni. Yes. All right. Security yamba Mwami Museveni. Bwayagala ogenda okuziika security yonna nga agenda nayo. Bwayagala okuyimiriza Bobi Wine okugenda okuziika Mwami Kagwa former EC chairperson, security nga agiwayo. Amagye gaba ganoonya ki mu kuziika.
Thank you so much.
Bwayagala ogenda mu kalulu nga agatwala nga gatiisatiisa abantu nga gabakuba. Bayine mundu. So security wise Uganda yesinga ne bwonoonya abasinga 10 mu East Africa. Abasinga 10 actually abasinga 10 mu Africa. Uganda teriimu. But on personal levels Uganda yesinga.
All right, thank you, Aisha. I'm going to give you the microphone and
Yeah,
you guys respond to the question.
We're going to, we'll come to you after getting these answers, please. We're going to begin with Mr. Kauma. We go like this, and then we go back to the NRM man.
So you're only having 3 seconds to respond to any of the questions.
Any questions, except when it was just directed to you. Nga ebifugenze wa NRM. Na ye birala buli omu asobola okubeera nga awa answer ye mu 45 seconds, please. Mwami Kauma go sooka tugende bwe tuti.
So I think most of the questions were directed to our NRM colleague, which is probably a good thing because a lot of people are asking why people even still support the NRM. So from my perspective, I would like to encourage Ugandans to show up and vote. That's really the most important thing I can appeal to Ugandans. Show up and vote. The issues of security, I'll briefly touch on that. Like the gentleman said, we have a lot of security, but it's all security from Museveni. And our military is involved in so many scandals, I would say. In the Congo, we had an issue. They're in South Sudan. Now we have the Rwanda issue. So I think we need, as Ugandans, a security which works for Ugandan people and not working for the head of state. I think that's why we'll be able to establish, first of all, the discipline. We see journalists being beaten by the military. We see students at Makerere being invaded and beaten by our military. So Ugandan military, one of the things Museveni used to say, he wanted a disciplined force. At the moment, we do not have a disciplined military.
Thank you, Mr.
And I think that's one of the things which needs to be restored in Uganda, for the military to be proud and for Ugandans to be proud of the forces we have.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to Ismail, but njagala mwogere ne ku kintu mwami Wanduka kya raisins. Agamba ta blaming Museveni for having Kataha in the education ministry. Yeah, agamba blaming the parliament. Abamu approving.
Thank you very much. I think the problem we have in Uganda is Musevenism. Musevenism is an idea where everything must run around Museveni. And one of the things why I like Bobby Wine, he said, it's not about him as a person. And I'm very happy that people have come in big numbers today for the debate. And probably we don't have to run around one person because I know him, because he's my friend, because this is a fight for change in Uganda. It's not a fight because we are neighbors or we are friends.
All right, thank you.
And I'm urging people out there, we are not interested in the supporters. People are going to shout, people power, our power, and yet they're not going to vote. The last time we voted in Uganda, the opposition got the 3 million and something votes. In 2021, how can we make sure that we have the 3,800,000 votes and then we add on the people who are just registered? So we need more voters and less supporters.
To go straight to Mr. Wandukwa, you must understand that Parliament is a rubber stamp of the executive. So basically what Museveni wants, the Parliament does. You've seen on many occasions where they've been taken to Chankwanzi and given statues of money for whatever Museveni wants to pass in Parliament. So so Parliament is useless. But again, going back to what Dr. Kauma said, Ugandans, you do not only have to change the president, you have to change members of Parliament. We need to take out every NRM member of Parliament or everyone does not stand with the people. Because you have people in Parliament that are thinking about, they collect all these so many loans. When they get in Parliament, they want Museveni to pay for them these loans. So as much as you want to blame the Parliament, we blame the executive because it has taken over Parliament. Parliament is a rubber stamp, it is useless, it does nothing. But again, we cannot take away and blame President Museveni for choosing his wife, who he knows she does not have the capacity to run that ministry. She's a school dropout. She did not study market. She studied by proxy. She does not have the proper qualifications to head the Ministry of Education because herself she's not a graduate. She did not study. And people are going to say you don't need education. You don't have to be a graduate. But how are you going to head teachers when you've never stepped in a proper class?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just grab it from there. Let me tell viewers that I hope this may not be my last one. If we really need to run this government come 2021, whether FDC, whether people power, we have to have a larger representation of the opposition in the parliament. Right now, the NRM rules, whether you bring which bill to the table, it will be passed by the NRM larger majority. So if we don't work hard, work together, stop attacking each other, and getting the deal done by in unison, we are going nowhere. NRM will still exist. Mad laws will be passed, every kind of bad stuff will come to us.
Madam Bulia, 40 seconds, please, and then we go to...
I would like to tell the FDC person that we don't need only policymakers because the MPs are the policymakers. We don't need only policymakers. For you, the FDC have been reminding us that we need more NRA, more opposition MPs in the parliament. Right now, we don't need that. We need to start from the head. I'm telling you guys, join us because we need to remove the president. Yeah.
All right,
it's not only the policymakers. To go back to Mr. Alex's submission.
Could you please raise the microphone up?
Sorry. To go back to Mr. Alex's submission. We know that all the NRM MPs are working for the caucus. Whatever the caucus says, they are not working with their mind. They are working according to the caucus. We know that. That's why I'm telling people that voting took power, the policymakers who will be with you. And we are going to do that. But besides that, we are taking Museveni out of power because it starts from above.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, Mr. Apollo, please, to cap it up.
I will begin with my friend Kabuye.
45 seconds, please.
Before you ask me who pays and how you benefit as Ugandans in Somalia, first ask UN who is paying them and the United States of America. Yes. That question goes to you. Yes. Another thing is that before you think about taking Museveni out of power, you must organize yourself. When you're talking about Museveni must go, Museveni must, that is not the only, I think he would have gone already because of Kano Besigye, what he's been saying again, Mujamulaba. So another thing, I'm replying to my friend, the pastor, Pastor Frida. Uganda needs everybody. And let me tell you something, Uganda is a democratic country. So when you talk about in terms of democracy and instability, Kyagulanyi came into becoming a member of parliament because of electoral process.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Unfortunately, we are going to stop here because we don't have any. Yes, we don't. Yeah, but we don't have any more time. They say we have to close now. We're supposed to close at 6.
All right.
Yes, we have a lot. Actually, we didn't even talk. Excuse me. Let's get back to the panel.
All right.
Can you please keep calm, my audience? Thank you. We can have more discussions next time. We've not actually tackled the cabinet that has been put in place today. We've not talked about Rwanda's decision to keep the border closed. Those are all pertinent questions we needed to address. We've not talked about, in a bigger picture, the agriculture sector. So we'll get some other time to come back and have these discussions. We learn from each other. So after here, we can take the discussion to Facebook, and then we can answer ourselves back. I want to thank you so much for honoring the invitation. I want to thank all the panelists and my co-host David and the TV stations that made this happen. Thank you so much. I remain Aisha Namiro from Radio Uganda Boston. Over now to my co-host David.
All right. I want to also thank you so much, the audience. I want to thank you so much, members who have been watching us online. Now, you may be asking a question. Why haven't we received your questions, those who are online? We have received them, and in the next debate, once it's organized, we'll try to make sure those questions are addressed, and we really apologize for that, but we thank you so much for keeping time. For now, I also want to thank you, panelists. I know you wanted a closing statement, but because of time, we have not been permitted to do so. Now, let me...
We can give them 10 seconds each, and also thank the organizing team.
All right.
So, yes.
All right, so let me give 15 seconds each. Yeah. Closing statement. All right.
Thank you for hosting me. I'm so I'm proud to be here. I thank the administration of this Fireplace Church for hosting us. Thank you.
Danny?
Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. It's really good, and we are happy that we had it. I want to ask everyone in Uganda, please go and vote in large numbers so that we can take the president out of that chair. And also vote for me in my county, Kalati County. It's a district. Let me represent you in Parliament come 2021.
All right, thank you so much. Jenny, please. Thank you, Jenny.
You know I have a president called Besigye.
Please, members in the audience, respect. All right, Jenny. Jenny, please. Jenny, thank you. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you guys, Campfire, Diaspora TV, and everyone who was in this organization. I want to remind all Ugandans watching us right now, go check your names in the voters register to verify that you are a valid voter. Because as he said that we are not organized, we are organized. That's why we are not telling people to go for Action 2019, but rather we are telling them to wait for 2021 to cast their vote.
All right, thank you so much. Daniel?
So a recently conducted poll showed that 70% of Ugandans don't like the direction Uganda is going in. That means we can win 70% of the vote if people come out and vote. I appeal to Ugandans, those who haven't been voting, those who haven't been showing up, please, they extended the deadline for going to check your voter register to make sure you are registered. Please go do that. We do have the numbers. People want change. We do have leaders with good ideas. We have Ugandan professionals who have been sitting around are scared of joining politics because politics has become dominated by people who came in 1986 and they are still in leadership up to now.
All right,
so the time is now for change. The time is now for you to step up, go get registered, and come 2021, we want Uganda to belong to Ugandans, and we want all of you, like we have shared ideas today, those ideas we want them implemented, not just on policy papers, but also touching the lives and pocketbooks of all Ugandans. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
In the very few months that that Honorable Kyagulanyi has put pressure with people power to the president, we have all seen how the health status of the president has gone. I'm only praying that Museveni does not kill himself. I'm hoping he does not die before 2021. And I'm asking the voters to go out there and verify that they're on the register. And we need more voters than supporters. Thank you very much.
My cry and appeal is going to go to the members of the diaspora and the people who are sitting in our studio here. You have a lot of power you do not know you possess. Anyone in the diaspora, you have maybe 5, 10, 1 member of the person of people you support in Uganda. The people you support financially in Uganda, they owe you their vote. You're working in hard conditions. It is winter right now. Without a jacket, you can't be out there. Talk to your family members. If anyone cannot, if you have a family member who still supports Museveni but is eating from your hands, they do not need to get any money from you. They can as well pick it from President Museveni. So encourage your members in Uganda, your family members, to go back, to go and check their names on the register and make sure they vote for the right candidate. Because, and again, one simple submission I want to make. One of the things that has been raised, we've been selling a lot. We've been selling a lot the name Bobby Wine.
Thank you so much.
A second, please.
You were given
just
1 minute
second.
each, and
we've been selling a lot Bobby
now,
Wine.
To the members who are watching us online, we thank you so much. Thank you for the organizing committee. I would like 1 second to close this debate. To again, thank you, the panelists. Thank you, my co-host Asha again, and let me invite Madame Dorothy who has been leading the organizing committee, for just 1 second to thank the members in the audience and those who are watching us online.
Thank you so much. Dear Ugandans watching, wherever you are watching from, I'll take this opportunity to thank our panelists. Uganda is at crossroads. Uganda has a lot of challenges. Each time with the change of power, there is a lot of bloodshed. You remember since the 1966 coup, the 71, whenever Amin came back, Bote came back, each time we change leadership, there's a lot of bloodshed. So people power this time, under the leadership of Bobby Wine, His Excellency Bobby Wine, we say we can do it, just like other democratic countries. We can change the leadership without shedding blood of Ugandans. Right. We are sick and tired. But the government we have right now is all rotten. It needs to go. We need to change leadership come 2021, but peacefully without shedding any blood. Right. So avenues like this is one block of having that, having to attain what we gain. Thank you so much, and please be encouraged. Each time we organize events like this, please come and attend. And next year we have a People Power Convention. Labor Day weekend, here in Boston. Please, all over the world, register. We're going to start, we are going to send you messages on how to register. People Power Convention here in Boston. Yes.
Thank you so much, Madame Dorothy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the organizing team, the audience, and everybody watching.
All right, thank
you. The media centers, we have AITV, Campfire, Diaspora, everybody. Thank you so much for God and my country.
All right, thank you. Thank you, the members who have been watching us online. Have a great time. We'll see you next time. Thank you, the audience.
Thank you. Let's take a photo. Let's take a photo, all of us.
Thank you. Thank you.
David, let's take a photo.
Especially when leaders become misleaders, mentors become tormentors. Yaga 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 yaga. Bimba. Omutima gumenyese, ayinga kyemanyi munywanyi nawe gukumenyese. Abantu eyo gye mpitira bayongobedde bye basuubira nga byawukana ku bye balaba. Ate abalala bo ne babyetama banyigirizibwa ne babulako gye balopa baabwe. Ejo wandiba dolopera kibeera kizibu okufunayo obwenkanya kugamba osigala wansi ensi bwe kusuula situkawo mangu tutambule munsi teri kyangu lugendo luwanvu situka tugende mu maaso situka tutambule embeera emalamu amaanyi naye topowa tugende situka tutambule lugendo luwanvu bwe tulemerako tutuuka kale imuka tutambule embeera emalamu amaanyi topowa tugende tutambule olugendo luwanvu bwe tulemerako tutuuka And injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Still we have to keep moving. I don't know what don't kill you will only make you stronger. Emyaka gibadde mingi n'okutoba nakwera kubadde kunjigoyi n'essuubi libadde lingi nga tusuubira nti oba embeera nakyukamu wakiri ati nze kyenzudde enkyukakyuka gy'oyo yamunanga eri mikono gy'omwennyini kubanga oyo gw'olinamu ensuubi mu mazima naye alirinamu gwesebo kale gwe buli bw'onoogwayimuka otambulirewo ebisoto byekubireko mu kkubo kubanga buli lw'onoogwa n'olaga nti oggwamu amaanyi eno balabira ku gwesebo obugubi bw'oyitamu naffe bwe tuyitamu naye tulemerako paka lwetunaamalako omuliro gutwakira mu gusinga gwe tuyitamu yaga siduka tutambule embeera emalamu amaanyi naye tokowa tugende siduka tutambule lugendo luwanvu bwe tulemerako tutuuka obiyimuka tutambule embeera emalamu amaanyi tokowa tugende obiyimuka tutambule lugendo luwanvu kati nzijukiza kwe yeebase na buli eyekubagiza muganda wange kugamba situkirawo tulinawo omulimu omunene gwa kuzimba buganda eri ensi bisaaba abaliddawo oba tosobola kuduka wakiringa otambula oba tosobola kutambula wakiringa oyabula oba tosobola kwabula wakiringa weewalula naye kyonna kyekiri sigala ng'omubinga tewali mireme gye bagenda kuletera awaka ku soosiyo oba tuli mu madibuzano kangule ku voisiyo sigala ku kosiyo naye manya rights zo tolema kukolerera buganda kwezimba ggwanga lyo wadde nga abeewo tebali ku saidi wadde nga abeewo tebali ku saidi yo kwezanya patiyo oba lino ggwanga lyo